Asterisk, don't bother waiting for me, she said. That very night, I packed my things and left. 23 years of marriage shattered by secret hotel rendezvous. All paid for with cash she siphoned from our family diner. My daughters found out about her treachery in the most gut-wrenching way, and my payback was both merciless and satisfying. My name's Dale Kramer. I'm 47, and I've been running Kramer's family diner in Millfield ever since my dad passed away and left it in my hands. It's nothing fancy: red vinyl booths, black and white checkered linoleum, and a grill that's seen better decades. But it kept food on our table and made sure our 3 girls wore clothes that weren't hand-me-downs. That Tuesday evening seemed like any other. Cheryl, our oldest at 21, was wiping down tables after the dinner rush. Brenda, 16 and brimming with attitude, was rolling silverware while griping about her chemistry homework. Little Tammy, just 13 and still our baby, was stacking plates with the careful focus she gave to everything. Norma stood at the register, counting the day's cash. She'd changed into a fresh blouse, which struck me as strange since we were just heading home to leftover meatloaf. Her hair was down instead of pulled back in the usual practical ponytail she wore during service. Dale, she said without looking up from the 20s in her hand. I'm going out with the girls tonight. It's Helen's birthday, remember? I didn't recall Helen mentioning any birthday, but she worked the morning shift, and I hardly saw her except for a quick hello. Sure, I said, hanging up my apron. What time you think you'll be back? Norma just shrugged, still avoiding my gaze. Could be late. You know how these things go. Don't wait up. Something about the way she said it made me freeze. Not the words themselves, but the flat, rehearsed tone. In 23 years, she'd never told me not to wait up. Asterisk. I remember because Cheryl baked her a cake at the diner. For a brief moment, I saw panic flash across her face. But it quickly vanished, replaced by that cold, emotionless mask I'd seen more often recently. Fine, she said, standing up. You want the truth? I've been seeing someone. The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I had known this moment would come. Hearing it spoken out loud was different. How long? I kept my voice steady, trying to maintain control. Does it matter? It matters to me. Norma sighed, as if I was being unreasonable. 6 months. Maybe 7. 7 months, she repeated, as though I wasn't already getting up at 5 in the morning to prepare breakfast for truckers and farmers. While I was teaching Tammy how to balance the register. While I was planning our anniversary dinner, which you blew off for him. Who is he? Rex Morgan, she said without hesitation. He's a food distributor. He comes through town twice a month. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. I knew Rex Morgan. Tall guy with a beard. Always flirted with the waitresses. Always had a joke ready. He'd been coming to the diner for over a year, and I had treated him like a friend, serving him coffee and conversation. You've been bringing him into our diner, I said, my voice low but firm. It wasn't a question. Dale, it's not what you think. Don't, I interrupted, raising my hand to stop her. Don't you dare tell me what I think. You've been lying to my face for 7 months. You've been sleeping with another man while I bust my back keeping our family business alive. So don't tell me what I think. Norma's mask slipped once more, and I saw something ugly beneath it. Maybe if you paid more attention to me instead of that damn diner, this wouldn't have happened. Tommy had warned me about this, the part where she tried to make it my fault. No, I said firmly. You don't get to do that. You don't get to cheat on me and then blame me for it. You made a choice, Norma. Own it. She stared at me, looking as though I had slapped her. In 23 years, I'd never spoken to her like that. Maybe I should have started sooner. What happens now? She asked quietly. I looked around the kitchen, at the table where we'd fed our daughters breakfast for 2 decades, at the refrigerator filled with their school pictures and report cards, at the life we built that she decided wasn't enough. Now you tell me if this is over, I said. Him or me, Norma. But I'm done sharing. Norma looked at me like I had grown a second head. You're giving me an ultimatum? I'm giving you a choice, I corrected. The same choice you gave me when you decided to start sleeping around. She stood up, pacing to the window. It's not that simple, Dale. You don't understand what I've been going through. Then explain it. But don't expect me to feel sorry for you. Norma turned back to me, and I saw tears in her eyes, for a brief moment. Almost. I felt invisible, she said. Like I was just part of the furniture in the diner. You never looked at me anymore. Never really saw me. So you decided Rex Morgan was the solution? He made me feel alive again, like I was more than just a short-order cook and a mother. I studied her face, looking for any trace of the woman I had married. "And what about our daughters?" I asked. "What about Tammy, who still thinks you hung the moon? What about the business we built together?" Norma's expression hardened. "The girls will adjust. And the diner? We can figure that out." The casual way she dismissed our daughter's feelings told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about feeling invisible or unappreciated. This was about Norma wanting something new, something exciting, and to hell with the collateral damage. "You want to know what I think?" I said, moving closer. "I think you've been planning this for a while. I think Rex Morgan isn't some accident. He's your exit strategy." Norma's face went pale. "That's not. How much is he worth, Norma?" I asked. "A food distributor with his own routes. That's serious money. More than a small-town diner owner can provide." "You're being paranoid." "Am I? Or am I finally seeing clearly for the first time in months?" We stared at each other across the kitchen, 23 years of marriage hanging in the balance. "That's interesting," I said, "because I'm trying to figure out what you'd call a man who's been sleeping with your wife behind your back for 7 months. Rex turned pale. To his credit, he didn't immediately try to deny it. "Dale, I don't." I stepped closer, close enough that he had to look up at me. "Don't insult my intelligence any more than you already have. Look, it's complicated." "No, it really isn't. You've been using my business as your personal dating service. Coming into my diner, eating my food, shaking my hand, all while you're sleeping with my wife." Rex looked around nervously, probably searching for Norma. "Where is she?" "Gone," I said. "Left yesterday to think about her priorities." I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. "But you're here now, so let's have a chat about business." "Business?" "Your distribution route. See, I've been thinking about switching suppliers. Found a company in Springfield that can beat your prices by 15%. Rex's face went from pale to gray. "Dale, you can't." "Can't what?" "Choose who I do business with." "This is America, Rex. Free market and all that." "But we have a contract." "Month to month," I said. "Renewable at my discretion." I read the fine print. I pulled out a copy of our agreement and set it on the counter. 30 days, notice for cancellation. Consider this your notice." Rex stared at the contract like it was a death sentence. "You're making a mistake. Norma and I, it wasn't supposed to happen this way." "How is it supposed to happen?" "You waltz into my life, steal my wife, and I just smile and keep buying your overpriced coffee beans?" "She wasn't happy, Dale. She told me." "I don't care what she told you." I moved closer again. "Here's what I'm telling you. You've got 30 days to find new customers for this route. After that, if I see your truck in this parking lot, I'll consider it trespassing." Rex opened his mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. "What about Norma? What about her?" "She's planning to come with me. New territory. New opportunities." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Then I guess you better make sure those opportunities pay well. Because she won't be getting a dime from me or this business." Rex straightened his shoulders, trying to salvage some dignity. "You can't control her, Dale." "I'm not trying to control anyone. I'm just protecting what's mine." I gestured around the diner. "This place. My daughters. My future. None of that includes people who think loyalty is optional." After Rex left, I stood in the empty diner for a long moment. 23 years of marriage. And it had come down to a business transaction. Maybe that's all it had ever been. My daughters found me in the office an hour later, going through supplier catalogs like nothing had happened. But Cheryl, sharp as her mother used to be, wasn't buying the act. "Dad," she said, closing the office door behind her. "What's going on?" "Brenda said she saw you talking to that delivery guy, and he looked like someone had punched him." I looked up at my 3 girls, 21, 16, and 13, and realized I couldn't protect them from this much longer. They deserved to know why their world was about to change. "Sit down," I said, gesturing to the chairs around my desk. "We need to talk." "If you can prove she used business resources to facilitate the affair," Webb said, "we can argue she forfeited her claim to marital interest in the business." Webb looked up at me. "But Dale, this is going to get ugly. She'll fight back." As if on cue, my phone rang. Norma's name appeared on the screen. "Speak of the devil," I muttered, declining the call. The phone rang again, and this time, I answered. "What do you want, Norma?" "I want to talk," she said, her voice tight with stress. "This has gone too far." "Has it?" I replied. "Because from where I'm sitting, It hasn't gone far enough. Dale, be reasonable. We can work this out without lawyers. I glanced at Webb, who was shaking his head vigorously. Sorry, Norma. You made your choice when you decided Rex was more important than our family. Now you get to live with the consequences. You're destroying our daughters' lives out of spite. I'm protecting our daughter's inheritance from a woman who thinks loyalty is optional. I kept my voice level and professional. Anything else you want to discuss can go through my attorney. I hung up and turned to Webb. How long will this take? Depends on how hard she wants to fight. But with the evidence you've provided, 6 months, maybe less. Good, I said, because I'm done wasting time on someone who checked out of our marriage 7 months ago. Webb smiled grimly. I like your chances, Dale. Women who steal from family businesses to fund affairs don't typically get much sympathy from judges. Walking out of that office, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: control. For 7 months, Norma had been calling the shots, deciding when to lie, when to cheat, when to come clean. Now it was my turn. Word travels fast in a small town, especially when it involves the local diner and a cheating wife. By Wednesday, half of Millfield knew about Norma and Rex, and the other half was pretending they didn't. The morning rush brought unexpected support. Bill Patterson, who'd been eating breakfast at our counter for 15 years, slid an extra $10 bill across the Formica. For the girls' college fund, he said gruffly. Don't want to see them suffer for their mother's mistakes. Bill, you don't need to. Hell, I don't. You've been feeding this town good food at fair prices for decades. As far as I'm concerned, Norma lost her mind. By lunch, 3 more regulars had left extra tips for the girls. Mrs. Henderson, who ran the flower shop next door, brought over a casserole and a lecture about modern women forgetting their priorities. In my day, she said, setting the dish on our counter, a woman understood that family came first. All this nonsense about finding yourself. What foolishness. But it was Frank Russo's visit that really surprised me. Frank owned the auto shop across the street and rarely spoke more than 2 words to anyone. Heard about your situation, he said, settling onto a counter stool. Had something similar happen to my brother up in Memphis. Yeah, wife ran off with her personal trainer. Left him with 2 kids and a mortgage. Frank stirred sugar into his coffee. Know what he did? What's that? Started over. Found a woman who appreciated what he brought to the table instead of constantly wanting more. Frank looked at me seriously. Point is, Dale, this ain't the end of your story. It's just the end of the chapter with the wrong woman. That afternoon, Cheryl approached me while I was cleaning the grill. Dad, people have been asking me questions at school. I tensed. What kind of questions? About Mom. About why she hasn't been around. Cheryl picked up a towel and started drying silverware. I told them she was dealing with some personal issues. That's diplomatic. I also told them that no matter what happens, we're staying with you. I looked at my oldest daughter, intelligent, loyal, principled, and felt a surge of pride. You don't have to take sides, sweetheart. I'm not taking sides, Dad. I'm choosing integrity over selfishness. Cheryl met my eyes. Mom made her choice. Now we're making ours. That evening, after we closed the diner, I found a note tucked under the cash register. Norma's handwriting. I never wanted it to end this way. The girls deserved better than this war between us. I crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. She was right about one thing. The girls did deserve better. They deserved a mother who put family first and a father who fought for what was right. They were getting 1 out of 2, and that would have to be enough. So let me get this straight, I said. You threw away 23 years of marriage for a guy who cut and ran the moment things got complicated. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she whispered. What was it supposed to be like? You steal from our business, lie to our daughters, destroy our family, and then what? You all ride off into the sunset together? Norma flinched. I made mistakes. You made choices, I corrected. Bad ones. And now you get to live with the consequences. The girls won't talk to me. Can you blame them? You chose a stranger over your own family. I want to make this right, Dale. I want to come home. I stared at my wife of 23 years and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no love, no pity, just emptiness where strong emotions used to live. There's no home to come back to, I said quietly. You burned that bridge when you decided Rex Morgan was more important than your family. But the divorce will proceed as planned. My lawyer says we should have final papers within the month. Norma stood up shakily. What about my half of the diner? Your half? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You forfeited any claim to this business when you used it to steal money for your boyfriend. Check the divorce papers when you get them. You can't do this. It's already done. I gestured around the diner at the customers who'd supported me and my daughters working behind the counter at the life I'd built despite her betrayal. This is my family's business now. You're just a customer, and not a particularly welcome one. After she laughed, Cheryl came over and put her hand on my shoulder. You okay, Dad? I looked around the diner one more time. Really looked at it. Saw the strong business we'd built, the loyal customers who'd stood by us, the 3 amazing daughters who'd chosen integrity over convenience. Yes, sweetheart. I'm better than okay. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday in October, exactly 8 months after that night, when Norma told me not to wait up. I signed the papers in Marcus Webb's office with my 3 daughters beside me, officially ending 23 years of marriage and starting the next chapter of our lives. Congratulations, Webb said, shaking my hand. You kept the diner, the house, and custody of the girls. Norma gets her personal belongings and half the money from your joint savings account, about $3,000. What about her lawyer's claim that she deserved half of everything? Hard to argue for half of a business you embezzled from, Webb replied. The judge was not sympathetic to her position. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of lies, deception, and false hope had been lifted from my shoulders. 6 months later, Kramer's family diner was thriving like never before. Word had spread about our situation, and instead of driving customers away, it had brought in support from neighboring towns. People respected a man who stood up for his principles and protected his family. Cheryl had enrolled in business school, but still worked weekends. Brenda was applying to colleges with scholarship money she'd earned through good grades and community service. Little Tammy, now 14, could run the register better than most adults. The diner itself had been renovated with the money we'd saved by cutting out Rex Morgan's overpriced supplies. New booths, fresh paint, updated equipment. The place looked better than it had in decades. On a busy Saturday morning, while watching my daughters work together like a well-oiled machine, Frank Russo approached the counter. Dale, you got a minute? Sure, Frank. What's on your mind? My niece is coming to town next month. She's a teacher. Just got divorced herself. Good woman. Raised her kids right. Frank stirred sugar into his coffee. Thought maybe you two might have something in common. I considered the offer. For the first time in years, the idea of meeting someone new didn't seem impossible. Maybe, I said. But no pressure, right? I'm pretty busy with the business and the girls. No pressure at all. Just thought you might like to meet someone who understands what real commitment looks like. That afternoon, I stood in the diner kitchen watching my daughters serve customers and handle problems with the competence and integrity I taught them. This was what mattered. Family, hard work, and people who stood by you when times got tough. Norma had chosen excitement over stability, passion over commitment, fantasy over reality. She'd gotten exactly what she deserved. Nothing. I'd chosen my daughters, my business, and my principles. And I'd gotten everything that truly mattered. Sometimes the best revenge is simply building a better life without the people who try to tear you down.